Thank you for joining me today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Well, according to Instagram, on this day 2 years ago, I saw you guys play at Imperial Fest Leipzig.
Wow. Oh my God, that was the biggest show of my life. That was the biggest show I ever played. Wow. Well, thank you for being there. Yeah, that was a really crazy one. I can't believe it's been 2 years, man. Shit. Yeah. Time flies. But those were great. You know, we did I think 4 Impericon shows, and they were all so wicked. Yeah, they were all great. So thanks for coming down.
How is the pandemic treating you?
Yeah, as well as it can, really. You know, obviously everybody's suffering and we haven't got any shows, but I'm doing well mentally and the band's doing okay as well. So yeah.
Amazing. Now, congratulations on your recent album. It was fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Really enjoyed it, both listening to it and writing about it. So congratulations. It's one of the top releases of the year for me.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I appreciate that. It's been the response has been brilliant so far. So just got to hope that no other good albums come out for another 8 months.
Honestly, so many good albums have come out until April that my year list is almost full and I don't have the slightest idea, bless you, what I'm going to do for the rest of the year.
I'm gonna have to do 2 best album of the year lists probably. Yeah.
I can see that happening. So anyway, let's start. You already talked about reception, so I will skip that. What is the differentiation point between this album and your debut?
I think this album was just like a lot more, I think we had a lot more freedom when we were writing it, you know, like with the debut, we had a lot of expectations to live up, and I think we were really trying to be something that maybe we weren't, you know? Whereas with this one, it was just very natural, very real, and I feel like, you know, you can tell just by listening to it, it feels like a band that understands itself a lot more, which is perfect, you know?
And I think it's a step forward from what you've done so far.
Thank you.
Brilliant to see a band evolving and not get stuck in the same sound that maybe offers low originality.
Yeah, that's the real tough thing is like, sometimes you can't help that either, you know, sometimes you'll be stuck in your ways and you won't even realize it, you know? So we were very aware we didn't want to keep doing the same thing over and over. And the other thing is as well, is like, we didn't want to do something too different either, you know? So it was about finding the midpoint between the two.
What was the biggest challenge that you faced creating and releasing an album during the pandemic?
Well, we'd written and recorded it before the pandemic. So it was all done by the time that it all happened. But for me, it was just like, even now, you know, the album came out on Friday. And I wish that we'd been able to play some shows for people. I wish that we'd been able to hang out with people and meet them and thank them for checking it out, you know, whereas now it's like, all we can really do is just go on Twitter and just, you know what I mean? So for me, that personal connection was definitely the hardest bit for sure.
That makes perfect sense. And I hope we will all be able to go to shows and for you to perform shows soon.
Fingers crossed. Yeah.
You are the main lyricist of the band, aren't you?
Yeah.
What was your main source of inspiration?
It's tough, to be honest, because nothing specifically. I think, you know, on a personal level, I think that I'm getting older every time I write, every day I live, I get older, you know, and like, I think the difference between me back then and me now is like, I think I was coming to grips with life a bit more, you know, and I'm coming to grips with the fact that, you know, the band could have split up or could have failed big time after the first album, you know, and I'd kind of embraced that a little bit and understood that I was just a human, you know, and I think it made me realize and think a lot about life in a different way, you know. So yeah, I feel like nothing inspired me more than life, really, you know, but it was just coming to grips with life as an adult. I think that was quite a big poignant part of the writing process.
Yeah, adulting can be hard.
I know.
You are an adult and sometimes you need an adult. It's crazy.
Yeah, sometimes I always need an adult. Yeah.
Now, I have a theory. that in the theater fashion, the story can be told backwards. Like you start from the title track and you talk about a person that's on the verge of dying. Maybe they even flatline for a second, but then they come back to life. Is that a correct way to interpret, or a possible way to interpret the lyrics?
Yeah. So that was something that we tried to achieve with the opening song, Awake, going into celebration song. I kind of wanted it to feel like somebody was waking up from a coma, and waking up from a really deep sleep and realizing how beautiful the world is for the first time, and then with the last song, it's kind of, they kind of link together a little bit in a weird way, but it's a weird one though, because I think sometimes you can try and do something, but it doesn't work. And sometimes you can not try something and it just naturally happens, And I think that was the case with this album a little bit,
Actually, when I listened to it for the first time, I didn't really pay attention to the lyrics of the songs that hadn't already come out. But the second time, I started catching up on things. I'm like, hold on. Maybe we could just reverse the order of the songs and they would still make sense.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a really good way of looking at it, because, we wanted the album to be as good at the end as it was at the beginning, and I think it's an interesting one because, when you watch a movie and that the good guy is going to win, I feel like the album is the opposite of that, because it starts on a really happy note and it ends on a really sad note, and that's something that we wanted to do. But I guess it's interpretation at the end of the day. And if somebody did want to listen to the album backwards and find positivity from Celebration Song as an ending kind of track, I think that's cool as hell as well, So yeah.
What is the writing process for Holding Absence?
It's always very different. We never try and do the same thing over and over, because it's quite easy to it's quite easy to get stuck, like you said. You never want to be stuck doing the same thing, so sometimes it'll be something I do on an acoustic guitar. Sometimes Scott will come up with a demo and then we'll work from there or whatever. But yeah, it's very much like a different one every time. But lyrically I'm always quite similar. I'll write a lot of one-liners on my phone, and I'll have a big bank full of one-liners, and then I'll take them, I'll put them all together, and I'll kind of make them into a coherent song. So that is how I write lyrics, at least.
Amazing. One thing I noticed is the way that you project your voice. Have you received any training?
No, I haven't. No. Wow. So it's just practice, lots of practice.
Wow. I wanted to talk about the visuals of the album. You have a very vintage feel, which really suits the sound. And I'm particularly amazed by the picture with the mirrors. And I was wondering if there was any sort of symbolism behind that, or if it was just a cool prop that you found on set.
No, that's an interesting one, because I looked at it a while ago, that specific picture, and I was like, it's interesting how me and James, the old member, there's two of us, but there's only one of Scott and Ash, I remember thinking ooh, that's kind of cool. But yeah, no, we that doesn't have any deeper meaning or whatever. But as for the visuals though, like you said, they are very cinematic, very grand. And I think for us it was two things. It was our early stuff was black and white, obviously, it was all black and white. It all felt very old fashioned and quite timeless. And we knew we wanted to move from black and white, but we didn't want to lose that vibe, if that makes sense. So yeah, we basically kind of tried to, I guess, emulate it in a different way, and then the other thing is the fact that people quite often say that our sound is quite cinematic or quite timeless. So we always wanted to try and achieve that on a visual level as well,
And tie everything together.
Yeah, for sure.
Amazing. You guys chose to create and release a new album while the world is at a critical point. How important was it for you to create new art and offer people something to relate to and maybe ease what they are going through?
Yeah, it's a tough one because we were supposed to put the record out last October, so we hung on to it for quite a long time. Yeah,
Wow.
but I think it was kind of a mixture of holding on to it as long as we could, but also knowing that the world needs music now more than ever. So we didn't want to hold on to it for too long either. So it was all about finding the right space, So it's been pretty much a year of COVID by the time the album came out. But in all honesty, we've still got quite a long way to go until shows come back. And I think it's kind of like a healthy midpoint, really,
We've seen a lot of bands doing live streams in the last year. Is this an idea that you would entertain?
Yeah, it's something that we're looking forward to hopefully doing someday. We've just got to do it right, We don't want to do a bad job of it. I think the album, we've never played the album before, so we want the first time anybody hears it to be the best version of it possible. So yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, and keep your eyes peeled on that one.
Amazing. Now moving on to the harder questions.
Let's go.
If Holding Absence were members of the Spice Girls, what would be your Spice names?
Okay, I think Scott is our guitarist with glasses. So I feel like anybody give him like a glasses related one. So a word people use where we're from in Wales is like if somebody's got like glasses, you can call them like spectacles.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like people call them like people with glasses, they call them like specky. So I think Specky Spice would be pretty good for Scott. And then Ash is like crazy, like he's a crazy dude, like so I think crazy Spice is pretty good for Ash. And then for me, I'm probably just like Singy Spice or annoying Spice or something like that. So yeah.
You are so kind to yourself.
I know.
If you could have a 1-minute phone conversation with a younger you, what age would you call and what would you tell yourself?
Ooh, good question. I would phone myself roughly when I was about 13, 14, I think. And I would just say, work hard, practice, believe in yourself. And those are the, I feel like in my life, like I've gone through a lot of different things, but I need to remind myself often that I'm good enough to do the things I'm doing. And if I knew back then what I'm doing now, I would never have believed that. So I wish, I believed in myself a bit more when I was a younger person,
Your house is on fire and you only have time to grab 3 items before you leave. Pets and family are safe. What do you take?
I would grab my Deftones Diamond Eyes vinyl. I would grab probably as many comics as I could, I guess, in one hand, and then probably my Mac or something, my computer or something. I'm very much like, I like collecting things. I like, like comics and records and stuff like that. I really enjoy collecting because, those are things that have meant a lot to me in my life. And I love having them there physically, So probably those, but also the Mac is probably too expensive to leave in the fire. So yeah.
That's a very good point, actually. Would you take shoes?
Would I take shoes? They would help me run away from the fire, but nah, shoes, you can buy shoes for cheap, You can go on eBay and buy some shoes.
eBay, of all places.
I've definitely bought shoes off eBay before. Yeah.
Wow. You are a brave man.
Yeah, I know. I'm a poor man. That's why I do it. Yeah.
Okay, this is all the time we have for today. Thank you for joining me. Do you have any final words?
No, just the album's out now. The Greatest Mistake of My Life is out now, and we worked really hard and we're really proud of it. So we hope anybody listening to it enjoys it. And thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, you too. Lovely to meet you. See you soon. Bye.